Hello, and welcome to yet another installment of the virtual Tuesday Night at the Movies with Andrew and sometimes friends. As we tried with Hill of Freedom, the last film that I did commentary on, which was by the same director and writer, which is wonderful, Hong Sang-soo, a South Korean director. And as I did with that one, I'm going to try and read something that I prepared very much the way that I do when I'm here in person, which is I make notes while I'm watching the film. I come up and I kind of look at my notes and I try and piece together some idea of what I think was going on in the film. And so that's what I did last night after I watched the film. I took some notes and then I just sat down and wrote this based on that. And so I hope it works for you and helps you with the film, and maybe you'll go back and look at the film again. That's what I did with Hill of Freedom, and I think it paid off. It's a lot easier to do with Hill of Freedom because that's only a 67-minute film, whereas this one's about 2 hours. But there's a lot to be said for this one, and I want to get right to it. So this film, Woman on the Beach by Hong Sang-soo, the writer and director, was made in 2006. So we're looking at some movies that have been made a while ago. This was made in 2006. Hill of Freedom, which I did the commentary on last week, was made in 2014. So these are not today's films, but South Korean filmmaking has been all the rage, especially since Parasite made all the headlines and won the awards. So people are taking another look at these films, and while we're not able to go to the theater anymore, why not look at some classic films and get an idea of what's going on in South Korean filmmaking, which I don't know that much about. But films are films, so it's interesting to watch these two films back to back because although they're in a different style, they're involved in the same themes. There's what does love look like as it plays out in random connections and betrayals? Why do lovers stray? What are the motivations on both sides, male and female? How do lovers get stuck, and can they get past it? What games do both genders run on each other as part of the pursuit? And at what point is pursuit and not real love the entire object? In both Hill of Freedom and Woman on the Beach, characters get wrapped up in whether they can or will say, "I love you." In this film, it's an issue for director Kim. He's the main protagonist, film director named Kim, who keeps saying, "I like you very much," as if that will take care of everything. Sun-hee, his second conquest at the beach, forces him to yell, "I love you," out over the sea and into the void. She makes him do it. He does it. He seems to get some release from it, but it may be just part of the game he's playing to get into her bed. And is love the real thing? This is another question the film deals with. Is love the real thing that characters keep referring to? Or is the one real thing a reference to faith or true belief, or which might or might not encompass love? This movie is about love, certainly, and about how love relates to sex, or sex for the sake of sex. But it's also about the creative process and how tortured and tortuous that can be. In the beginning, we see Kim force his friend Chang Wook to go to the beach with him, ostensibly to help him get writing. He needs this road trip, he says, and he needs Chang Wook to come along, not as a writing partner, as I first thought, but just to get his juices flowing. As soon as Chang Wook says he will bring his girlfriend, we realize that Kim will do anything rather than write this script. Any diversion will do, but he's not going to be writing. That's clear right away. And throughout the film, we see that he won't or can't write the script until he is in extremis, weeping because Mon-suk has gone out with Sun-hee, his second conquest, and is probably learning all about his lies and betrayal. Once he is brought to his knees by his love for Mon-suk, literally with a torn muscle that is unused, begging the question of whether for Kim the heart is an unused vestigial muscle, like an appendix. Only once he has put himself through the emotional wringer, even with forced and artificial emotions, is he able to write, and we can conclude that all the emotional turmoil was necessary for him to be able to put pen to paper and finish his script. We've seen him on his knees weeping before, too, praying to the tree, "Please help me. Please help me." He's in an emotional state. He can't write. He's blocked in whatever way he's blocked. And so these are the things he does. He prays, he falls to his knees, he weeps, he runs games on these women, he forces himself into emotional turmoil, and eventually it works for him. That's an interesting way to go about the creative process, and I wonder if the director, who is Hong Sang-soo, is talking about his own pursuit of creative excellence and creative process. He has Kim refer to a movie that he's making that he only has the title of before he starts writing. In his confession to Mon-suk about being tormented by the image of his ex-wife having sex with his friend before they were married, we can see him working himself up into an emotional state, which we might later conclude was just yet another attempt to be in sufficient turmoil so that he can write his script. And once he's done and happy with his work, he goes his self-centered way, having gotten what he needed out of the love and sex triangle, after pumping it full of longing and jealousy, even jealousy comically, of foreign men who have had sex with Mon-suk, and betrayal and lies. It's interesting to note that he celebrates being finished with the script and judges it to be really good stuff, even though it's only a page and a half for him to tear out of his notebook. So is this an outline for his script? It can't be an entire screenplay, that's for sure. So it's interesting. His writing, Hong's writing, the director and writer of this film, as opposed to director Kim in the film, this writing is as interesting as the filmmaking, or more interesting in some ways. I'm not a Korean film aficionado, as I said, and I don't know much about Korean culture, but I can't imagine that the first scenes, and many of the scenes that follow, seem any less awkward to Koreans than they did to me. The almost unbearable level of awkwardness in the scenes between Kim and his friend Chang-wook, and when the two of them are with Mon-suk, is truly masterful in both the writing and the filmmaking. Just unbelievably awkward. And the writing is compelling too when Kim goes ballistic in the sushi restaurant, saying, "We have to leave, you should be nicer to your patrons," and he goes storming out, screaming at the poor waiter who's just minding his own business. It seems incomprehensible that he does this until the viewer realizes this is part of his game. He's demonstrating that he is the passionate and temperamental artist who cannot control himself, all part of his making a move on Mon-suk. Ironically, when Chang-wook loses his shit, screaming at Kim to go back and apologize, it is he who is judged to be posturing by Mon-suk, saying, "Are you trying to show me what a man you are by demanding that he apologize?" Kim is a famous director, and he gets a pass. And the girl, Chang-wook, is just a decent guy trying to get his friend to do the right thing, and he's not going to get the girl. Writing also carries the day in the scenes with the dog, Dory. Here again, we see a relationship that seems to be one thing, and then when the couple abandons the dog, we see that it is not the relationship it looked like and we thought it was. And what does the abandoned dog do? It runs after the mom and dad who abandoned it. This not what it looks like is true for the relationships between all the central players. Kim and his friend Chang-wook, Chang-wook and Mon-suk, whom he calls his girlfriend, but she begs to differ when Kim calls them out on it, saying that you aren't boyfriend and girlfriend unless you're having sex. And he's also married, which we didn't know in the beginning. He says he's bringing his girlfriend along for the trip. We don't know that he's married until Kim calls him out on that. And the relationships between Kim and Mon-suk, and Kim and Sun-hee, and Mon-suk and Sun-hee. All these are relationships we think you know what they are, but we really don't until it's revealed to us. Hong's writing of the characters of the two women is also brilliant. Do they look alike, as Kim says, or are there elements of character that are alike, as Sun-hee says? Mon-suk hates her father, who was so grasping that he was like an octopus, we learn early on, but she also loves him. Sun-hee hates her mother, but she says, "She's my mother." Mon-suk's greatest fear is obsession, and she seems to have become obsessed with Kim. Sun-hee's greatest fear is betrayal, and both she and Mon-suk have been betrayed by Kim. Both women claim to be excellent cooks. Sun-hee bean sprout soup and chicken stew. Mon-suk spicy rice cakes. These are these parallels that keep happening. And are they the coincidences that the director was talking about when he said that he was making a film called About Miracles? Are they miracles or coincidences? Has he forced these coincidences? Hard to say. There's a meta aspect to that. But Hong is also examining love as it relates to celebrity. Both women know that Kim is a highly acclaimed film director, and that's a large part of why they yield to his advances and tolerate as much as they do, because Kim, though ostensibly the film's protagonist, is a complete and total swine of the first order, as both women come to see in time, even allowing for all the wonder Mon-suk feels for his diagramming of the notion of how we are all victims of images imposed on us by others. She sets this up near the beginning of the film when she says, "I can only love a man who can explain himself logically." In the end, when she is doing all in her power to get him to be honest, to no avail, She says, "Give me the facts, not your bullshit philosophy." And accepting the reality of his lies and assessing how she came to this pass at the end, as she is sitting on the stairs with Sun Hee's wallet, she tells him on the phone, "I think I liked you a lot as a director." The implication being, not as the man you turned out to be. Also on the stairs, she gives him a needle that she knows will sting a man who doesn't think she should sleep with foreigners. I don't really respect Korean men. The symbolism at the very end might be considered heavy-handed, except that Hong gives it a light touch. Pointedly not running after the man who abandoned her, Mon-suk is driving carefree down the beach and gets stuck in the sand, which can easily stand in for what happened to her with Kim, stuck with her wheels spinning. And remember, when they first came down to the beach town, there were warnings of a sandstorm that in the event no one thought was too bad. She reaches for her cell phone. Who's she going to call? Kim? Before she can dial, two nice Korean men come and push her out in a beautiful random act of kindness with no strings and no agenda. They don't want to go out with her. They don't want to bed her. They won't even accept any offer at repaying them for helping. It's worth noting that their car, too, is stuck in the sand. But they came to help her as they wait for a tractor to get their truck out of the sand. Are we all stuck in the sand? It's a question the director might be asking. Regardless, at the end, thanks to two strangers, Mon-suk is no longer stuck. A little hurt, but a lot wiser, she's free to drive off down the beach and out of the film. Not only is she free, but by the last frame, she, and to some extent her sometime rival, Sun Hee, have become the heroes of the film. The review in Salon magazine summed it up beautifully, better than I possibly could, calling it a rueful tale of karmic irony, self-deceived desire, squandered second chances, and unforeseen abandonment. There's a lot going on in this film, and it's not easy. It was not easy for me to really understand the pace of it and what was going on in it until I got to the end. It builds slowly, but it lays the foundations for what it's going to be about as it goes through. And there's a lot of payoff. There was a lot of payoff for me at the end in sorting out exactly how he got to where he was going and where he was going in the end. So it's a fascinating film, and I hope that you enjoyed it too. I hope this is helpful to you in some way as you think about the film. And I hope that you will, if you enjoy these kinds of commentary and enjoy the films, especially the films, not so much the commentary, but especially the films, if you enjoy them, please get in touch with the PAC at info@whbpac.org and let them know what you think. I know they want to hear from you. Thanks very much.